That's correct. So we're waiting to see whether or not justice and the judges will accept the charges that were proposed, and if he will be formally indicted and will have to go to trial for the accusations of corruption and money laundering, hiding assets in São Paulo with the apartment that you mentioned earlier. It's a very volatile situation in Brazil right now. On the one hand, you have part of the country that it's basically giving a backlash against government and against Lula's party, the Labor Party, because of this economic situation. And on the other, you still have a large following of the PT party and of Lula who are protesting against the charges being brought against him at this point.
To what extent do you see this as politically motivated and actually just a matter of law enforcement?
Well, there has been questions inside of Brazil on whether or not the car wash operation, which is the corruption investigation on corruption in Petrobras, is politically motivated. But those questions are very minor, to be honest with you. The police has been doing a very serious job of investigating the influence of contractors, of construction companies in government, of several parties. So it's not just the government party that is being investigated at this point. And they're being very careful not to commit the same mistakes that investigations have in the past in Brazil. It's not the first time that construction companies are investigated for corruption, but in the past, investigations were completely dismantled over technicalities.
Okay.
So the current investigation is being very careful to follow the law to the largest extent and to conduct the investigations in a transparent way and in a fair way. It's complicated because these politicians, they have very large followings,
right.
And it's very controversial right now because of the situation of the economy.
Well, I wanted to ask you about
and of the delicacy of the government.
Yes, you've said that Lula is the strongest political figure in the country still and has a huge following. So if his followers see this as unfair, what do you think they would be prepared to do?
Well, there will certainly be more volatility in the streets of Brazil. We are expecting counter-protests to take the streets still this month with followers of Lula and of the PT party protesting against the investigation. But we believe that this is short-lived because the evidence that's being brought about and the discussions, like I said, have been serious ones and they're pretty strong. The majority of the population right now still favors the investigation. We have about 60% of Brazilians favoring impeachment of the president, that is the same party as Lula's party.
Right.
So although this might increase the volatility and the divisions in Brazil in the short term, I think in the long term, the governing party is still in deep trouble.
So in a word then, Andrea, do you think these prosecutions are taking Brazil in the right direction?
It's a painful direction,
okay.
And it's one that is going to demand very deep transformations, both in the political arena and in the economic arena,
okay.
So that Brazil can recover. But yes, Brazil it needs this type of investigation. And one thing that we can still boast is to have a strong police department and a strong judiciary that is cleaning the country out of the corruption that has been epidemic until now.
Andrea Murta in Washington, D.C., thank you very much for your analysis.